L'chaim. It's a new month, the month of Kislev. It's called the Chassidic month because there's tons of Chassidic holidays in the month of Kislev. We already passed one. Rosh Chodesh was the miraculous recovery of the Rebbe from his heart attack. Then we have the 9th of Kislev, the 10th of Kislev is the Mittler Rebbe's days, the second Rebbe of Chabad. He has a birthday and a yortzeit on the same day. And then the day of his liberation. He was imprisoned also on charges related to his spreading of Judaism, and he was freed on that day. Then we have the 14th of Kislev, the Rebbe's wedding. And then we have the 19th of Kislev and the 20th of Kislev, which are the highlight of the month for the Hasidic Jews. That's the Alter Rebbe's day of liberation. It's called the Rosh Hashanah of Hasidus. It's the biggest of the big. And then Hanukkah. Hanukkah is a very Hasidic holiday. Did you know that? Even though it was 2,000 years old. But it's a very Hasidic holiday because it's about light. And what is Hasidus if not light? Turns on the light in a confused world. That was the point of the Baal Shem Tov. Right? In a room. What does light add to a room? It doesn't add anything except for clarity. Nothing new, no furniture comes into the room when you turn on the light. Everything that was there before is there after, but now you can see. That's the same with Chassidus. People always ask, is it a new part of Torah? Is it a new religion? Is it a new sect of Judaism? Nothing, there's no furniture to Judaism that was added with Chassidus. All that came was the light was switched on. So now you could see what putting on tefillin means. Now you could see what keeping Pesach means. Now you could see what Mashiach means. Now you could see because there's clarity. That's what Chassidus does for us. It gives us clarity and meaning and the significance of everything that we live for. So really, the Rebbe would call this month the month of Chassidism. Yeah.
Since it didn't give anything really new per se, why were they so opposed then?
It's a very good question.
A light switch, and you're not really adding crazy stuff like I want to mention names through ball movement, but that's crazy.
It's a very good question.
Change things. This is not changing things. These are just revealing things.
Yes.
So why?
Why were they so against it? You have to think about it. You have to use the same metaphor. Somebody's in a room and it's dark. What happens to your eyes? Ultimately, you get used to the dark. You stay there long enough, you begin to adjust. And then when someone turns on the light, actually what happens is it blinds your eyes. And there's a moment of upset. So I believe that's what happened as well. The Jews got so used to living in the dark that they're like, this is reality. What do you mean? There's a light on? Someone that turned on the light, he needs to be rebuked. But it took time to adjust to the light, and now I believe the world is much more adjusted to the light, which is why there's so much more acceptance for the Hasidic way of life. And ultimately, when Mashiach comes, everybody will embrace it because that's when the ultimate light will be turned on. Everybody will see it. But I think that's the meaning. The point is that this is a very, very potent and special month. And it happens to be that I just came back from a very, very special weekend, which Eliakim Chanoich was there, and anybody else was there this year? No, but you've been there in the past with us. And Sharon had his own personal trip to the Rebbe, and it turns out that many of you have not been yet to the Oyel, so we have to do a trip to take care of that. But this was the weekend of the Kinos HaShluchim. You can think about it like the Jewish UN. Okay? Think about it that way, but like in a good way.
Right.
A good UN. Yes, everything in a good way. We have 100, Chabad is in 102 countries now. 103. They just announced 2 more this week. Andorra, yeah. And we come together once a year. That was the Rebbe's vision, 1983 he started it. He said first just the Shluchim in America, the national, then there was an international in 87. And since then, the Rebbe said they should come together on this Shabbat before the month of Kislev, to draw strength. It says in the prophets, Ish etzre'eyu ya'azoru ula'achiv yomar chazak. One man helps his friend and tells his brother, be strong. That's the theme of the Kinos each year. Because, for me, let's say, I would consider myself more privileged amongst the Shluchim. We live in a fairly Jewish community. We have access to kosher food and Jewish education. But then I meet my friends from Oregon. I spent a night with him. Another guy from Utah. Another guy from Wyoming. Let alone when you're out of the States and you're dealing with African countries and you're dealing with rural Australia. This guy's in the outback in the middle of nowhere. Rara, you've heard of it, right? It's my classmate. It's been around since 2000, but he took it over the last 5 years.
The growth of those shluchim is much higher than the ones that got it all set up.
Because every Jew is 100% growth. Right over here, if I get one Jew, in Sherman Oaks, you have 10,000 Jews. So every Jew is a very small percentage. But over there, he finds one more Yid. He doubled his community by 100%. But no kosher food. The kids are getting educated on online school. They look forward to this weekend, actually, to meet their friends. I have a friend in St. Lucia who his kid goes to online school with a kid from upstate Minnesota. And they don't see Jewish kids all year. They come for the kinnos for the weekend. They have a little kids camp also. And they literally meet their friends in person. They walk into a kosher store, a friend from Kansas. His kids have never seen. They come into this store in Crown Heights where it's wall to wall with candies. They're jumping for joy. They don't know if it's real. They don't know what to think. All they know is frozen milk that comes to their freezer, once every 6 months. They keep it there, and that's how they last. It's unbelievable, the mesiras nefesh, the self-sacrifice that these shluchim have, just to further the vision that the Rebbe inspired us all with, to bring Yiddishkeit to every single Jew. And in Sherman Oaks, we have our own fair share of challenges in a different way. Okay, that's everybody has their thing. And what I found so remarkable about this weekend was that there was less focus on the challenges and more focus on the joys. And that was a big thing for me, a big supercharge, where you have 5,000 rabbis come together. They could just sit and complain. This would be a great time to just unload and vent all the complaints that accumulated over the year. And you have 5,000 listening ears. Everybody will want to hear what you have to say. Everybody will commiserate. Everybody in some way or another will empathize. None of it.
Which is human nature, by the way.
Which is very much so. Instead, what did we get? A weekend of light, a weekend of inspiration. Especially this year, it was in light of the murder of the shliach from the UAE. It's such a paradox. It was such a paradox, and it's so Jewish. It's our trademark of being a paradox, where we live out this dance between one side and the other, and we just plug into the power of infinity. So it was an unbelievable experience. I'm back, pumped up, I'm ready to go, ready to roll. I'm in a good space. And then something happened to me on Monday night in JFK. And in the moment, I had no idea why it happened. I'm still not sure I fully know why it happened. But then I was preparing the class tonight. I'm like, you know what? Maybe that's why it happened. This is a maybe for something that really could have burst the entire balloon of my experience over the weekend. It's Monday night. I have a flight at 10 o'clock out of JFK. I went to the Ohel. I had been there on Friday with all the shluchim, but then I wanted to go just as an individual. I come there 7 p.m. There's plenty of time. I can do
7 p.m. on Monday night?
7 p.m. Monday night, 3 hours to the flight. 10 o'clock. JFK is a 15-minute drive away. It's nothing. I sit down, able to write a little letter. I go into the Ohel. 7:40, I'm done. I'm ready to be at the airport at 8 o'clock. There's no reason why anything should go with a hitch. As I'm about to get into my Uber, I order the Uber, it's there. A shliach from Vienna, Austria, comes over to me. He asked me, I'm going to JFK. I said, yeah. He says, can I hop in your car? I said, no problem. Help another shliach. What a way to finish off the kinnos. Gets into the car, and I say, okay, which terminal are you going to? So he says, Terminal 8. So I'm going to Terminal 5. He's Terminal 8, international airline. I said, wonderful. Uber has this thing where you can put in, you can add a stop even during a trip. So will drop me off at Terminal 5, and then I'll keep going, Terminal 8. I try adding the stop, doesn't work. Uber is not letting it go. Try one way, try another way, this way, that way, just not letting it change. And now, what's going to happen there, because the Uber driver won't go past where he needs to go. So I'm in the car with my brother. I didn't mention it. My little brother went to the kinnos for the kids' kinnos camp. He's sitting with me. He's like, look, we just come back from the kinnos hashluchim. Let's help another shliach. Let's switch the stop. Instead of adding a stop, switch the stop to Terminal 8. We know how to get around JFK. There's an air train, very easy air train. You get on, it goes to the terminal. It's super easy. Send him to where he needs to go, and we'll do the roundabout walk. It'll take us another 10 minutes, but we'll be fine.
You with Zalman?
Yeah, Zalman, my brother. It was a very cute gesture from a child, like, just help out, just help him out. Beautiful. So we switch the stop. It's going to Terminal 8. Everything is fine. Goes to Terminal 8. We drop off the guy. He says, thank you so much. Da, 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 da. He's on his way to his flight. We get onto the air train. Now, I've been on this air train 100 times. I know how this works backwards and forwards. There's no reason why I should get on the wrong air train. But I literally walked onto the wrong train. And you know those moments when you know what you're doing is wrong, but you still do it?
Yeah.
That was the moment. I walked in, I'm like, I know I'm in the wrong place. I should get out, but I just froze. And I got into this train. And this train now goes out of JFK. It's not going back to the terminals. So it's 10 minutes out of the way. It goes to Federal Circle where the rental cars are. So it goes over there. And I'm looking at the clock. Okay, it's still I'm still in good time. It's 8:30, 8:40. We go, by the time we go, we come back. We're still in good time. Okay, we come back to the Terminal 5, and there's a good 20, 25 minutes to be able to print the tags for the luggage and go to the line. I come to the machine. I kid you not. I come to the machine. I put in the information. The bag tags are not printing. They're not printing. So I run down to another side of the terminal. Maybe a different machine is working. This machine, also not printing. I call over an agent. Also not working. Where do you go? Go to the line. I go to the line. There's 35 people on the line. If I stay on that line, there's no way that I'm gonna miss the cutoff time. So here, by the way, separate parentheses, I saw the kindness of humanity. Really did. I went over to every single person on the line. I said, I have cutoff time in 5-7 minutes. Can you let me go ahead of you? Every single person, white, black, Hispanic, young, old, doesn't matter. They let me go, no problem. I was very, very touched. Within 2 minutes, I'm in front of the line. And I'm holding my suitcase.
And your brother?
No, he's waiting on the side with, I said, you wait, let me do this thing. I go up to the counter. And when you come to the counter, if the clerk is going to be helpful or not. You know what I'm saying? Yeah? From the first second you see them, this is going to be a helpful one, this is going to be a not helpful one. This was a not helpful one. Okay? I'm dealing with 120 seconds here on the clock. She's typing. By the time she finished typing, I'm sorry. It's closed. It's closed. There's no...
The gate's closed.
Yeah, the luggage is closed. You can still make your flight, but the bag can't go. Now, where's the bag going to go? So typically, they have these luggage lockers. You can put it in a luggage. And my father was still in town, or somebody else can come. Nothing. There's no lockers. There's nowhere to put it. You can't go. No, you can't keep it here. Nothing. So I'm like, now I'm gonna not only miss the luggage, I'm gonna miss the flight. So first I tried calling somebody, didn't answer. Then I see another Chabad guy walk into the airport. I'm like, look, you have to do me a favor. I'm calling my father. He's in Crown Heights. He's gonna come here get the luggage. Just hold on to the suitcase. I have to go to the flight. He says, no problem. I happen to know him, so it's good. I run into the security line. Now it's Thanksgiving weekend at the end. Security line is also insanely long, maybe 100 people. And again, I was so moved. I asked every person to go ahead. They let me go. Me and my brother, we're skipping ahead. Boom, 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 boom. And now we're within 5 minutes of the gate closing to missing the flight. We speed through security. They're helpful, they let us through. And then we had all these bags. I told my brother, I said, look, run to the gate, tell them that I'm coming. And then they'll let us on. So sure enough, he puts on his shoes, he dashes to the gate. I'm still gathering my stuff. I'm running. And I see from far, there's people standing by the gate. So I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I stopped running. I'm telling you, everything here is from Hashem. I stopped running. As I stopped running, this lady takes me over. And she comes to the gate first. Okay? By the time I get to the gate, it's me and my brother and four other people. We're 6 people. And we all missed the cutoff time. Me and my brother because we're just coming in late, and these 4 people because they had a connection that also came late and missed it. And again, you see the clerk and you know it's going to be a good one or not good one. I don't know if I'm going to get banned from YouTube if I say it, but somebody that doesn't like our people. Okay? My brother came first, before everybody. But as we're standing there, he says, I'm making an executive decision. It's a premeditated decision, he tells me. I only have 5 seats available on this flight because everyone came late, so we already put on all the standbys, so they filled up all the seats. We have 5 seats left exactly. I'm choosing to let on these 4 people. And since you and your brother don't want to separate, so you're going to have to be missing your flight. Had I ran, first of all, my brother was there first, separate story. But had I ran, the lady would have come second, I would have got on the flight. Nothing doing. Can I compensate? Can I buy another seat, an extra legroom seat? Nothing. Guy walks into the thing, closes the door. I'm literally left there by myself in the terminal. After all this, Drake missed the flight. And a part of me wanted to lose control. Because just the headache that I've been through in the last 2 hours, and I just tried helping somebody. It's the only thing that happened. I tried helping another rabbi, and this happens. I don't know what came over me, but something like a serene calmness came over me. I'm like, you know what? Hashem is in charge here. No idea why this is happening, but this is happening. And there's nothing I can do about it, so I may as well just embrace it and make peace with it. I calm down, go to the desk, sat there for 40 minutes, trying to rebook the flight, the whole thing. They rebooked us to the next morning. We went back to the Ohel, 15 minutes away from JFK. My uncle has a little home there, so we were able to sleep the night there. And I'm thinking maybe Hashem's going to send me, I'm going to meet somebody with a $75,000 check. Maybe I'm going to have some kind of crazy story, like I'm going to have a wonderful ending. There was no wonderful ending. Nobody was there. I went to sleep, came back the next morning, 7 a.m., had the delayed flight, missed a whole bunch of appointments in the morning because of that. Just headaches, really just headaches. And I'm thinking, I have no idea why all this happened to me, and I probably will never know. But then I was preparing class tonight, and I'm looking at the beginning of chapter 14, which is the chapter for tonight. I'm like, you know what? Maybe this is why. What does it say in chapter 14? Listen to this. You know what? We should read it inside because it's very powerful. Yeah, you have a book? If you want a book, here, take this. It's just one meaning. I'm sure there's layers and layers of meaning. But to me, this is how it spoke to me. 168. Beginning of chapter 14. There's 2.5 pages. We're going to do the first page tonight. First, in the original Tanya, the first page. So, talking about the Benoni, right? This is the guy that's in control, thought, speech, and action. He's not in control of his urges and his heart and his consciousness, but every moment, in terms of his interaction with the outside world, what he thinks, what he speaks, what he does, is in full control. There's different levels, as we saw. Levels of inspiration in prayer, levels of inspiration where it's just the mark left from prayer, Now, says the Alter Rebbe, this is like the first time he, bangs the gavel on the table and says, here's what you have to do. We talked about the tzaddik, talked about the rasha, talked about the Benoni. What does he say now? We'll start from the 3rd paragraph. Now. The level of the Benoni is a standard attainable by every person, and practically speaking, every person ought to aim toward it. To aim towards it. You have to aim to that. We need to strive to be Benonis. Puts in the commentary, while the level of Benoni, who has achieved absolute self-mastery in his action, speech, and thought, might seem to be something attainable only by a small elite, the Tanya sets it as the universal standard. Not only is it theoretically attainable by us all, it is something that practically speaking we should all be striving for. Now, is that like an end game? Is that like a 1,000-year lifetime of work? No. Look what Alter Rebbe says. In fact, any person can become a Benoni at any moment, at any time. Today, now, boom, in the split second, you can be a Benoni. How so? Skip to the bottom paragraph there. For the Benoni is not repulsed by evil, since that is a matter of the heart. Benoni is not in control of his heart. How he feels towards negative things, the urges that come over him, these he can't control. And for most people, top of 169, to be constantly repulsed is not possible, as their emotions are not the same all the time. But what can you do? Skip that one paragraph of commentary. The Benoni is not required to have mastery of his emotions, only to have impeccable behavior, to turn away from evil and do good, practically in actual deed, speech, and thought. And here's the clincher. For in these areas, every person has the freedom of will, the capacity, and the autonomy to act, speak, and think contrary to his heart's desire, even to the opposite extreme. Your heart is pulling you one way. You have the ability, your mind has the control to steer it and act the other way. One more paragraph. For even when your heart lusts and desires a certain physical pleasure, regardless of whether it is permitted or, God forbid, prohibited by Jewish law, you can strengthen yourself not to succumb and completely divert attention from it by saying to yourself, I don't want to be a Russia even for a moment. This is the message. For me, this was my takeaway. You cannot control your circumstances. You cannot control the curveballs that Hashem throws your way. What's going to happen to you in your life is not going to be by your choice. But how you react and how you behave in these moments is entirely within your capacity. In other words, you can be the master of yourself. You can't be the master of others. You can't be the masters of destiny. But how you move your own pieces, you absolutely can be the master. And I'm thinking, as I'm reflecting, this didn't come to me in the moment. That didn't happen. But now that I'm thinking back on it, perhaps this is the lesson. There's no ending, fantastic ending, and happily ever after. This is the ending. This is the lesson. This is the takeaway. Look what happened. You were just trying to be good. How many times in our lives are we just trying to be good? And that saying, no good deed goes unpunished, right? We're just trying to do the right thing. And then it just comes right bouncing back in our face. Hashem's plans are beyond us. But how we have to behave in that moment, we have to be the Beinoni. We have to be the better person. We have to be the one that disciplines, exercises self-discipline, self-control. And do it just because it's the right thing to do. The truth is, there's a story that demonstrates that in certain ways you could even control your situation, even if not, even more than your reaction. That's the famous story of Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. He tells it. I won't do justice to it because the way he tells it is unbelievable in his incredible style. But in 1968, he was a student in Cambridge. That's when he first met the Rebbe. Because he had come to New York. I forget why. There's a whole background to this. But anyway, he ended up in an audience with the Rebbe. And I think he was interviewing a bunch of different Jewish leaders. I think that was the thing. He wanted to see what different Jewish leaders respond to different things. So he had a whole list of questions. And he visited many Rebbes, many rabbis, and he also visited the Rebbe.
He was a young guy at this point.
Yes, very young. He was a student. And he comes to the Rebbe, does the whole interview, asks all the questions, gets all the answers. And then the Rebbe says, you've asked me many questions, now it's my turn to ask you some questions. And the Rebbe starts going. How many Jews are there in Cambridge? What's being done for the Jews on campus? Is there kosher food accessible? Are there Torah classes? Are there this, that? And what are you doing about it, the Rebbe said? As a Jewish student, what are you doing about helping other Jews on campus? He said it was the only leader that asked him back. Everybody else just took the interview graciously, gave the answers. The Rebbe started pushing back. So he says that he began to answer the Rebbe, his first words. He said, well, in the situation in which I find myself, that's how he starts to answer. The Rebbe held up his hand and he said, a Jew doesn't find himself in situations. A Jew puts himself in situations. And the same way you put yourself in this situation, you can put yourself in another situation. Anyway, he was blown away. That's when his connection with the Rebbe began, and the rest is history. He did leave. He did not pursue his career that he had originally planned. He became a doctor, obviously, but then he went into the rabbinate, and he became the Jonathan Sacks, the Rabbi Jonathan Sacks that we all have benefited from tremendously. But all from this one point. A Jew doesn't find himself in situations, a Jew puts himself in situations. So, that does demonstrate that there is some element of control that you could have over your circumstance, but not once you're in the situation. You can choose to put yourself in this situation or that situation, but once you're in the situation, things will happen. And it's your choice how to react. And the Alter Rebbe says it's your obligation, it's your duty, and it's the standard you should set for yourself to react like a Beinoni. To react with proper thought, with proper speech, with proper action. That's point one for tonight's class. And I literally, not to say that I'm some master of my behavior, but it was one moment of testimony to this point.
And it occurs to me that you also were being a role model for your brother, who, whatever you think he was observing, we don't know what he's intending.
Okay, he's here right now. We just told the story of our missed flight.
But by seeing how you reacted and responded,
That's true.
and behaved,
That's true. The knowledge that he was there definitely influenced that level of behavior. And you know what? Fantastic. If that helps, if somebody else's presence, whether physically or mentally, helps, that's a very good thing. You just reminded me of another story that I heard at the Kinnis. So this was Sunday. They do the banquet. It used to be in the evening, now it was moved back to the afternoon so Israel can participate virtually. So it's over at 4:35. We got back to Crown Heights. A lot of traffic, 6:30, whatever it was. And then I'm on a WhatsApp chat. The same chat that I told you about a couple of weeks back where we were debating the meaning of the Tanya. So it's not only for Tanya, it's for young shluchim. It's for all Chabad rabbis that are under 30. That's what it's called. It's called shluchim under 30. So a whole group of us got together and we said that after the banquet, there's some traditional big farbrengens that happen in 770. They do it upstairs and downstairs, these yearly traditions. But they're very big and they're very packed and you don't get the personal feel that you need. So we say, you know what, for the younger shluchim, let's make a side farbrengen. We'll arrange it in a little hall and we'll get a senior veteran shliach to farbrengen for us and inspire us. And that's what happened. And we thought, not even we, I wasn't part of the organizer, but the organizer thought maybe 4 people are going to come, 5 people are going to come. It was a packed house. It was a packed house. It was amazing. It went from 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. We were there, we were dancing, we were singing, we were talking, we were discussing. And the shliach, the veteran shliach, his name is Rabbi Yisrael Darren. He is a shliach originally in Amherst. Now he runs the whole western and southern New England and Massachusetts. This is a man, I have tremendous respect for him. He lost, I believe, 3 children. Just things that you should never have to know about. Just unbelievable stuff with families and the whole thing. His life is not easy. And yet he maintains this joy and this strength. He's unstoppable. A man who hasn't blocked his heart. Some people, when they go through trauma, they close up. He still maintains access to all of his feelings, but yet, like a tractor, he's just going. And so it was the perfect person to have, leading us, and with a very, very wide spectrum of types of shluchim that are there. Everyone's doing different types of work, and he's talking. He tells us a story. He says he was a 16-year-old, and there was a particular change that he wanted to make in his schooling. He was going to yeshiva in one place, and he wanted to go somewhere else. He said, I'm not going to tell you all the details because it was privacy stuff. I can't tell you everything, but it was a big shift. And of course, a chassid didn't make a move without consulting with the Rebbe, so even as a young bacher, he wrote in a letter to the Rebbe, but kind of like selling the case for why he should do it. Like a little personal bias, I really think that this is what I should do. Says the Rebbe wrote back to him an answer. If you make the decision, the strong decision, to do X, Y, and Z, and he didn't say this what it was either, he didn't tell us, but he said it was a significantly hard task that the Rebbe asked me to do. He says, if you do that, then you can make this shift in the schooling or whatever it was. He wasn't ready to do it, so it didn't happen. 6-7 months later, it was his birthday. Now back in those days, the Rebbe was still taking private audiences, and you can go in once a year for your birthday. So he had a private audience for his birthday. And the custom in private audiences is what you wouldn't talk to the Rebbe directly. You prepared on a paper a note with all your requests or topics for discussion, and you would give it, the Rebbe would read it, and the Rebbe would address all the issues. So on this paper, it's now 7 months later. On the paper, he rewrote this question. Says, I didn't do it last time. Can we do it now? So the Rebbe took the paper. The Rebbe used to read extremely fast. I heard from many people who were there. You wrote a full paper of text, the Rebbe would go like this. He had a very unique way of reading papers. You go like this, got to the bottom, and then boom, point by point addressing the questions. I saw this once. There's a video of one of the Rebbe's Farbrengens in the 70s. I cannot find it till today. I'm looking for it. If anybody, maybe online, you know about it, somebody knows about it, I'd love to see it again. Somebody came to the Rebbe between talks. The Rebbe used to talk, and then there would be songs. Somebody came to the Rebbe between talks with a paper, maybe like half this size, and he gave it to the Rebbe with obviously some requests, and you could see on the video how fast the Rebbe's eyes are moving. It was incredible. He reads the paper in like 3 seconds, and then gives the answer. So that's when I saw like what everyone used to talk about, what they saw in private audiences. The Rebbe reads the whole thing, and without even looking up, the Rebbe addresses this shift that he wanted to make. And the Rebbe said, I already answered you. Are you going to do it or not? I already told you, it's conditional. If you're going to do this thing that I'm asking of you, then do it. If not, not. Are you going to do it or not? He was so taken aback, he wasn't expecting this. So he barely managed to nod his head. Like he nodded his head, like, you know what, I'm going to do it. The Rebbe looked up with a very, he said, like a satisfied smile, not like a full smile, but like a content face. And the Rebbe said, he said in Yiddish, as du wirst gedenken, as du hast mir zugesagt, wirst du können ausführen. Which means, if you'll remember that you promised me, you'll be able to carry it out easier. In other words, you're not in this alone. You'll remember that you promised it to me, you'll be able to carry it out. So why am I saying this whole story? So he was telling us that anytime you want to make a new shift or a leap of faith in your shlichut and the work that you're doing, just remember that you're on the Rebbe's wagon. And if you commit to it, you'll have the Rebbe's powers accompanying you. But I'm saying, same thing over here. You want to have self-control. You want to be able to manage your behavior. Many, many times, we could influence that by people that we have around us or in our mind. Picture, if somebody here that matters to you or that respects you or that you respect them were here, how would you react? Would it temper your reaction? If it would, use that. The point though is that everybody can be a Beinoni. Everybody could exercise that self-mastery. In fact, the Chassidim used to say that what the Alter Rebbe means over here is not so much a life-altering decision. It doesn't mean you can become a Beinoni from here on out. It means you could be a Beinoni for a moment. That is super achievable. In the moment of challenge, exercise that self-discipline, that focus, and be the Beinoni for a moment. So he says, B'chol eitu v'chol sha'ah, at every time and every moment, right here and right now. Can you be a Beinoni here and now? Be a Beinoni here and now. If that plays out for another 5 minutes, fantastic. 10 minutes, even better. But be a Beinoni for a moment. That's A. B, second point, says the Alter Rebbe, a little bit of a how. Like a method for how to exercise this self-control. And it's the method of self-talk. Now, self-talk does not always work in the moment of passion. In the moment of passion, it's very hard to stabilize and have a conversation with yourself. These are mental exercises that you have to do to be ready for when it comes. Kind of like the urge surfing we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, where you watch the urge kind of pass and go. This is another type of mechanism where you can talk yourself mentally into stopping yourself from doing certain things. And without getting into the whole length of it, I want to just deliver to you the point of it, because I think it's so relevant, and each of us lives this out. I can guarantee it actually right now, without even asking. I can guarantee that every single one of you can relate to what I'm about to say. Basically, to paraphrase this idea, what does Alter Rebbe say? Everybody has their red lines, right? Every single person around this table, we all have that line that we won't cross. No matter what comes our way, there's a certain line we're not going to cross. Humanly and also spiritually, Jewishly. You always hear people, I don't keep kosher, but shellfish, no. right? Or I don't do any of the holidays, but Yom Kippur, or I don't do anything, but marrying out, that's done. Like, everybody has this line where, that's the line we're not going to cross. Why? What makes those red lines red lines? How come for you, it's, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but I won't do that. And for somebody else, their red line is even further, or even closer. What makes people draw these red lines? Anybody have an opinion?
Their upbringing.
Their upbringing. Why does every Jew have a line he won't cross?
It's their tolerance of the discipline. It's how much they can take on to themselves.
Yes, okay, yeah. You're all addressing why you won't go more than your red line. I'm saying, why won't you go past your red line? What is it about the red line that makes it a red line for you? Whatever it is. You have something? You hear what Yaakov is saying? He says, there's the voice of Hashem inside you. Am I saying it right?
Stop listening.
There's a voice of Hashem inside you. For whatever reason, maybe it's the upbringing, maybe it's your own exposure, maybe it's your own learning, whatever it is. At a certain point you say, if I cross that red line, Hashem will no longer speak inside me.
That's a very good way of saying it.
Is that a fair paraphrasing of what you're saying?
Yes, because that is in fact what happens when you come from one more of
I believe that's,
to a
to me, that's what
Maybe you'll talk to you.
is making the red line.
You know gonna
You don't know, that's granted. But people feel, and again, why everyone has different red lines, it's another discussion.
Could be genetic.
But people feel that if I cross this red line, I'm no longer Jewish. That's how the Alter Rebbe actually says it. He says, as long as I don't cross this red line, odenu biyahaduto, I'm still Jewish. Once I cross that red line, now I'm not Jewish anymore. And for whatever people that is, some people it's intermarriage. If I cross that line, now I'm not Jewish. Some people say, no, intermarriage is also fine, but if I'm going to eat on Yom Kippur, then I'm not Jewish anymore. Like the story of the guy with the Kol Nidre. I'm not getting into the whole details here, but basically there was a guy who was a chazan in a big shul in Germany. And he would say Kol Nidre with just like extreme passion. And one of the congregants once asked him why, or how do you arouse this passion, this real sincerity? And he said it comes from a story that happened to him 10 years before, where he was doing Kol Nidre, and he was really enjoying it. He had a great time, great Yom Kippur, 24 hours of just being chazan and showing off his talent. And then at the end of Yom Kippur, everybody was done, it was dark in the shul, all the lights were off, they cleaned up the shul, and he put away his talis and everything, and he walked out of the door and he sees a Jew standing by the gate, looking confused. He says, what's going on? So the guy says, I don't understand. It's Yom Kippur tonight. Why are the shul locked? So he felt bad, but he says, I'm sorry, Yom Kippur was last night. Tonight it's all over. The fast is over. Everyone went home. So the guy looks at him, and he breaks down. He starts crying. He says, that's it. I'm not Jewish anymore. That's what he says. My dad used to tell me that we don't keep anything in this house. We're far from religion. But what makes us Jewish is that we go to Yom Kippur, Kol Nidre services. So now I see I missed Yom Kippur, so that's it, I'm not Jewish. May as well just throw in the towel. So this chazan, he felt this moment. He said, no. Come with me. Goes back into the shul, turns on the lights, gets onto the bima, puts on his talis, puts on his chazan hat, puts on the whole thing, brings the Jew next to him to stand, and like nothing, he starts singing. Aldas hamakoyim v'aldas hakol. The whole thing, top to bottom, kol nidrei, da. Does the whole performance. And this Jew standing next to him is crying the whole time, from beginning to end. They do the whole thing 2 hours, closes the machzor. The guy says, you will never know what you did for me. Says, you'll never know what you did for me. And he left. He didn't see him again. But the Chazan said, every time I stand Yom Kippur to Kol Nidre, the actual Yom Kippur, I used to think about the crowd, if people hear me, if people judge me, if people look at me, if people like me. He says, now, before Kol Nidre, I close my eyes, and I go back to that Matzah Yom Kippur, the moment with the Jew. And for me, that's where for that space, that's where I say Kol Nidre from. What's the point that I'm saying? The point that I'm saying is that this Jew, he believed that Kol Nidre for him makes you not Jewish. So the Alter Rebbe says to the Beinoni, and this is where the thought concludes, he says, so that means that you do admit that at a certain point you cut the cord. Just you think it's at a different point. In reality, it's at every point a violation of God's laws. We're going to see at length in chapter 24, 25, we'll learn more about this. But everybody, if push came to shove, if you were pushed against the wall and the gun was to your head and they said, either sacrifice your life, either, denounce your faith or sacrifice your life, everybody would sacrifice their life. Why? Because over there it's clear. I mean, the option is crystal clear. Either you do this or you're literally denouncing what Yiddishkeit is. But the truth is, every time you violate Hashem's will, you're also doing a miniature denial, a miniature denouncing. So if you could just, in your mind, bring the red line a little closer, then you could be a successful Beinoni. This is the self-talk that you have to do to tell yourself how to be disciplined in the moment when the challenge comes. You would succeed were it to be a more extreme challenge, just back it up and be successful in the regular challenge. But that's only in your types of challenges. Don't try to embrace or even be upset when you fail to embrace a higher potential. The tzaddik's potential is not for us. That's not for us. We're not born with that.
At that moment.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get back to it next week because it ties into chapter 1 where the Talmud says, Hashem, you created tzaddikim, you created rishayim. What does it mean you created tzaddikim, you created rishayim? Everyone has free will. What do you mean you created as a tzaddik or as a rasha? On the Tanya's definitions, it works out very well. People are created with the potential to be a tzaddik. That's their potential. That means that their destiny is to completely repulse evil, clean out the evil from their consciousness, and to be a tzaddik life. Other people are created to live the struggle of the rasha and the Beinoni, not to be a tzaddik. And we have to be happy with our potential. More about this next week and chapter 27. But as the famous saying goes, everybody is born an original. And for some reason, so many of us are dying as copies. Because what happens? We try to do someone else's lifestyle. Oh, that's the way I should be. Oh, that's the way I should be. No, this is the way you should be. The Beinoni is the way you should be. And when you embrace that, and even for a moment make the right decision, then you are the Beinoni for a moment, the Beinoni of the Tanya.